Returning to this one, I mean, in the first instance, were you aware beforehand that you were coming back, or had they told you that there was?
No, Dead was dead. I remember thinking that it was probably just my own denial at work, that even though no one ever hinted that Dead was anything but dead, I remember thinking, yeah, you haven't seen me buried. You haven't seen a close-up. You haven't seen death certificate. You haven't had the last rites, so is there a door open there somewhere? But that was just me. And then when the film came out, I think I think Matthew felt that the whole dynamic between me, Mark, Taron, him, was a team, and that was that was the material he wanted to work with again.
Were you surprised by the huge success of the first movie? Because it was one of those movies that had a lot of talent and everything else, but then just exploded like everywhere.
I don't think I was that surprised. I don't think I had anything to go on, Mike. But it wasn't that I wasn't sitting there with my fingers crossed praying that it would do better than expected. I just had this blind assumption that people were going to go for it. And that was while I was shooting. I think I've probably had that before and I've been wrong. But I do remember thinking, I can feel there's enough originality, that Matthew was being bold enough, that the ideas were mischievous enough, that it just had what it took. And I remember hearing a bit of skepticism in the run-up to it. People saying, well, that's the brand we don't quite recognise yet, and they're releasing it. They're releasing it in March. That's a bad sign. Or all these sort of things or February or whatever that people take as received wisdom. And just thinking, you just wait. I don't know what made me so secure. It was probably Matthew's films. I thought, if the sensibility that he brought to Kick-Ass applies here, I just felt very sure of it.
Certainly a much bigger sequel, as a lot of sequels do, but still at the core of it is your relationship with Harry's relationship with Eggsy. Mm-hmm. Must have been great to go back and kind of re-explore him while he's sort of becoming a man, as it were. Mm.
Yeah, and that was, I think, that was probably the strength of this version from my point of view. You've got incredible action stuff, beautifully filmed, and again, the music choices Matthew makes are just, I think they're masterful just in themselves. But I think none of this works, particularly once you're into that rather dangerous sequel territory. None of it works unless you're following the human story. And I think that without that thread of me, Eggsy, Merlin, me, I think it would just be hollow. I think you'd just hear a load of fireworks and no content. So that really is absolutely the heart of it at this stage.
You've become a bit of a sequel man recently because you've got quite a few on the go. Obviously, you're going back to do Mamma Mia, which must be hell of exciting, considering it's still one of the biggest movies in the UK at the box office. And then obviously Mary Poppins as well, which is...
I noticed, I remember a few years ago being rather envious of people that had a franchise to go back to. I thought, well, actors don't have a lot of security, even however well you might have done or people think you've done. You always think, God, it's my last job, this is it. And I remember there was a friend of mine who was in a very successful, long-running franchise, thinking, I just don't have any of those. And now suddenly, my past has, like acid reflux, has just suddenly come up. And I look back and I think, well, I suppose I must have done films that people enjoyed if they want to go round again. But yeah, we've had Bridget, this, Mamma Mia, all at once. I suppose even Mary Poppins, even though it's not a sequel of my film, it's, I think there's probably, a bit of nostalgia in the air. But no, I'll take it while it's there. It's not going to last forever.
I'm really looking forward to Mary Poppins. It must be.
I think it's going to be great. Yeah, it was fun.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you. Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey